All right, hi there, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Believe in Bills. Adam Benigni of WGRZ TV and Sports Talk Live Buffalo. Sal Maiorana of the Rochester Democrat and Chronicle at One Bills Drive. The day after the Bills made the cuts along with other teams in the National Football League, 53 is set. We're going to hit that. And Sal, you and I are familiar with blasts from the past, as is this franchise. And all of a sudden the name... shortly after we talked this morning, Jordan Poyer resurfaces, returning in kind of a unique role, one we've seen before with Micah Hyde. What's your initial reaction to that, and how might that play out?
Yeah, that was certainly unexpected this morning. Jordan Poyer, I mean, look, I would have to imagine that it's a practice. Well, it is. It's going to be a practice squad spot. But I can't imagine, Adam, that there's going to be any point this season where they would consider having to bring him up to play unless they had just a ridiculous run of injuries and had no choice. I mean, I'm sorry. Poyer was kind of shot his last year with the Bills. He was in decline. Last year for Miami was not a good year for him in any way. And I know he didn't enjoy being with the Dolphins very much, but the season did not go good for him. The lasting memory I have of Jordan Poyer was breaking Keon Coleman's wrist right over here across the way at the stadium. So clearly they're bringing him back, at least like I say clearly, as a mentor. Same thing they did with Micah Hyde last year. But if this is a move, Adam, that they think that they're going to get him ready to play in the next month or so and then go with him on the active roster, that to me screams that they're not happy with their safety play. But again, I don't think that's the reason for this, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the safety position has been a focal point for obvious reasons between Rapp and Cole Bishop. And yeah, he flashed in the last preseason game, Bishop did, but there are a lot of questions there. There's the leadership issue. There's sort of what Poyer can bring and what he and Hyde brought for all those years and that stability at that position, what he can sort of impart to them. I would agree with you. I mean, if he needs to see the field, it's a dire straits situation. But do you feel like at some level he can contribute in that way in terms of kind of being a mentor / sort of coach kind of thing?
Yeah, and I guess that's going to be the main focus for him being in here. Again, maybe Bean will tell us more later this afternoon. But I question this, Adam, too. What the hell do you have coaches for? Right. I mean, they actually have a coach specifically for safeties. I think it's Mike Dana is the coach for safeties, which means he's coaching like 5 or 6 guys. Like, do you really need to bring in Micah Hyde last year? And did you need to bring in Jordan Poyer? I mean, I know it's the practice squad, and the Bills get 17 spots because Travis Clayton's the international pathway guy. But, I mean, do you need a roster spot or a practice squad roster spot for a guy who essentially might be just a mentor and a coach? I mean, again, there's 16 guys on the squad. Do you need them all? Probably not. But to me, it's a waste of a roster spot. What is your coach for? Like, you've got a defensive coordinator and a safeties coach. Do you really need Micah Hyde or Jordan Poyer to take Cole Bishop under his wing? That's the part that I puzzle over a little bit. But, hey, whatever. If he can come in and help, then it's no big deal because it is just the one practice squad spot.
Right. And is there the idea of current players being able to identify with veteran, with players, as opposed to the coach-player relationship? I mean, there is that dynamic, and I do feel like Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane place some value on that, not to offset the point you just made about the coaching itself. Nonetheless, it's an interesting move, and one we have seen before, and one that's, making some kind of front page news on the websites and generating some talk anyway as we begin. Now, in terms of the timing of this recording, Sal, you see him sitting there in the media room at One Bills Drive, scheduled to hear from Brandon Beane. So there could be some updates as we speak. We're waiting to see the scope of that practice squad also. So there will be updated information beyond this particular recording. But as it pertains to the 53, we'll kind of go there. And look, as we had mentioned, win total for the Bills this year, over under from FanDuel, 11.5. Odds to win the Super Bowl plus 700, 12.5%. There are some, they're a contender, they're a favorite, as they should be. There are questions on the roster, and many of them, as we have discussed, surround the secondary. What's going on there? Dane Jackson, does he wind up on the practice squad? That sort of a thing after being waived yesterday. The Trey White injury still kind of shrouded. We don't know where that stands. Hairston, we know, IR designation to return, is going to miss at least the first 4 games, right? Yeah. So does that suggest White might be ready sooner rather than later? But what are you reading into that, I guess, is what I'm asking you, Sal.
Yeah, I mean, look, we don't really know what the Trey White injury is. I'm hoping today Bean will shed some light. You saw the broadcast last week where he used the quotes, a little lower leg injury. So, how little is it? Is it 4 weeks of IR that they had to wait to make the move until today because they had to get him on the 53-man roster and then put him on IR? We don't know. We'll find out. I mean, it was a good sign, I think, that they waived Dane Jackson. So that felt like a good sign towards White not being a long-term injury. But Adam, it could very easily be that, and I'm sure Dane Jackson will be back on the practice squad today. It could very easily be, Trey's going to be out maybe a week or two, and they use 2 elevations to bring up a guy like Dane Jackson. Because quite frankly, Dorian Strong, a rookie, and Jamarcus Ingram, who's been a nice story here for a couple of years, I can't imagine the Bills are truly going to trust one of those guys to have to start if Trey White can't go the first week or two. Dane Jackson, while he did not have a good training camp or preseason, and I don't think they should trust him either, he's at least started 28 games for the Bills in the past. So I could very easily see if White's not going to be available early, get Dane Jackson on the practice squad today, and you can use his elevations early in the year. We could see that. Max Hairston's already on IR. We know he's gone for 4 weeks, and you know as well as I do, it's the same thing as Cole Bishop last year. It's going to take him several weeks beyond the 4 because he can't practice while he's on IR. So he's going to be gone till the middle of the season. I don't think you're going to see him in an impactful role for several weeks. So, they've got an issue at cornerback, and I don't think Dane Jackson, beyond his elevations, would be a great idea. They need Trey White to get back out there.
So when you factor in, we discussed the safety position already, and then cornerback. I mean, you hope that the pass rush is improved, right? And this was a turnover-reliant defense last year anyway, right? I mean, how vulnerable, in your opinion? I think they're vulnerable on the back end. And I think that's going to be obvious when it comes to the opener. And thankfully, the offense, I do feel like it's in a position to score a lot of points because I feel like they're going to need to, especially early.
Yeah, I mean, look, we were, there was some good vibes against Tampa Bay in that last preseason game regarding Cole Bishop. But let's call the timeout there, Adam. I mean, they were going again. That wasn't Baker Field and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans and all those dudes. That was a bunch of guys that are on the street today. So, it was nice that he got back out there. He looked instinctual out there, especially on that play where he came up and basically forced the incompletion. The run blitz looked good. Great. That was against second and third teamers. So I think Cole Bishop is very much a work in progress. He's going to be facing Lamar Jackson, Rashad Bateman, Zay Flowers. Different story come Sunday night when they play the Ravens. And Taylor Rapp, I think, is fine. And then what's your depth? What is your depth at safety? Damar Hamlin he's probably a 4th safety, lucky to be on the team. Cam Lewis is back there. They've got issues, and we've already talked about cornerback. Christian Benford, I think, is going to be a lonely dude, man. Mm-hmm. I don't think anybody's going to be throwing his way, no matter what the coverage looks like. I think the other side of the field is going to get a lot of work, and I think the Bills should be very concerned with their back end. And you made the point, their pass rush better be dynamic because they're going to need these quarterbacks to be making quick decisions because guys are going to come open in the secondary.
All right, so let's go to the defensive front before we get to the offense. All right, and you look at the way things went down, defensive line, linebacker, that sort of a thing. And things, the Hoyt and Ogunjobi situation, things may play out down the line here. You nailed, I should point this out, in your projections. What did you get? All but 2 of the cuts, right?
I think I got 51 of 53, I think.
All right. So, I mean, things kind of playing out.
I mean, most of us had this roster pretty much. It wasn't a great feat of strength by me, but it was pretty easy. But yeah, the defensive line, you're getting to it. It's going to be very interesting here moving forward. Go ahead and set it up if you want.
That's where it, what happens 6 games in, right?
Yeah.
After those suspensions, how does that play out? I suppose, what happens in the first 6 games, it'll be a window into that. How much impact, how early from this group? So.
Yeah, they've got to be very, very good. Look, they got Joey Bosa for one reason, to be a dominant pass rusher. They tried it with Von Miller. He got hurt his first season after 10 games, and it was going very well until that point, and it fizzled out the last 2 years. Bosa has got to come in and give them what they were hoping Von Miller was going to give them, at least for this season. He's got to be great. And Greg Rousseau got paid in the offseason. It's time now to step up. He's been a good player for them. I'm not complaining about his performance his first 4 years, but he needs to be a double-digit sack guy, and he needs to be more of a menace. I don't think he's ever been truly, a guy you game plan for, right? Bruce Smith would be the obvious answer here, but even a guy like Von Miller, even his first year in Buffalo, I think the opposing offense had to know exactly where Von Miller was until he got hurt, and it didn't matter anymore. Rousseau has got to be that player. It's time for him to become a star. He got paid. Let's go do it. And then you've got Epinesa. You've got, Landon Jackson. I don't think is going to play early in the year. I think he'll be inactive. They'll go with Javon Solomon. And then up front on the defensive tackle, same situation. I think Dwayne Carter will probably be inactive on game days. Because I thought Walker and Sanders were both very good. They're rookies. And maybe Deion Walker won't get a jersey in the first week or two. Maybe they will turn to Carter because he has a little bit more experience. But I think they're okay on the inside. But you made the point. What happens in 6 weeks now? I mean, we just had an uproar over Jordan Phillips, right? The initial report, it looked like he was going to be going to the 53, which would have been absurd to me. I think it's absurd that he's even in the building again. This is another one. I don't understand why they have to keep tapping into the Jordan Phillips. Why? So he can be the head cheerleader on game day? I just don't see the impact. But he is going to the practice squad. So he's lurking. He's lurking. So you don't know what they're going to do as far as elevations with him. Maybe the rookies, maybe they don't play early in the year. And then come week 7, when those guys are eligible to be back, what do? I don't know what the Bills are going to do with this surplus of defensive linemen. You have to think there's going to be a trade somewhere, right? I mean, there's got to be they can't carry all these guys on the active roster. So it's going to be very intriguing. Now, Ken, injuries could change everything, Adam. By that point, they might have 4 injuries, and it won't even be an issue. But you look ahead and you think, what the hell are they going to do with all these guys?
Well, it's also, it's been a strength in numbers, kind of a rotation kind of approach for them. Your point on Walker, I do think they'll look for him to make an early impact. I mean, that was the body type, that sort of a thing. I mean, there was a clamoring for them to acquire that particular type of player. I think they needed to, and I think they'll look for some early returns. And he's shown flashes, but things change Sunday night, obviously. When things happen for real.
And again, you have to use that as the caveat that it was against Tampa Bay. It was not Tampa Bay's starting offensive line. So Deion Walker should have had some flashy plays in that game. So we'll see. I think it's going to be very intriguing these first couple weeks, especially to see what they do. Because, even with the 5 guys on each position that we've already mentioned, 2 of those guys are going to sit on game day. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. Like I said, I think Carter, I don't think he really didn't flash to me at all. Now, they're not going to quit on a 2024 third-round pick, But if you ask me today, I think Deion Walker and TJ Sanders should get the jersey over Dwayne Carter in that first game. And the same thing on Landon Jackson. I don't think he's ready. He's the one rookie defensive lineman. He did not show me anything in the preseason. I think Javon Solomon's got to get that jersey on opening night.
All right. Let's go to offense. We have some limited time left here. We know you got to get going. The fan base is happy about it. The majority of it, I think Tyrell Shavers at receiver earned a spot on this roster.
Yeah, he did. There was no question. I mean, he by all rights, he should be like the fourth receiver, Adam, based on how they played in the preseason. I guess you can't take Shakir out because he wasn't in it. But the top three here is very obvious. It's Shakir, Coleman, and
Palmer.
Am I blanking on Palmer? Those are the top three. After that, I mean, whatever. Shavers was the better player in the preseason. But again, Adam, we make this big deal about the guy who's technically going to be their number 6 receiver. He's probably not even going to be active most game days, right? He's going to be a depth guy. You figure Samuel and Moore are going to be active on game day. So Tyrell Shavers, I'm glad he made the 53. He deserved it. He balled out the entire summer. But quite frankly, he's probably going to be inactive unless there's an injury. So again, good for him. But I don't expect to see him making all that many plays this season.
All right, good. Let's go to the offensive line real quicker. And one of the surprises was the activation of Cedric Van Pran Granger. That was not. And so let's talk about that. And, we understand the offensive line stability and success and a track record of it now is the main hallmark and kind of feature of it. But what's happening further down the depth chart is somewhat interesting, and there were some surprises there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the starting 5 is locked in stone, and there was a lot of activity in that. They ended up keeping 4 guys. The way I originally laid out my projection was I thought Van Pran Granger would start on PUP. He hasn't practiced at all. He came back a little bit last week, but it was very minimal work. I just didn't think he was anywhere close to being ready to, if he had to, play in a game in a week and a half here. I thought he'd go on PUP, and that would put him down for a while, but it would at least give him a chance to get caught back up. Well, apparently they think he's going to be okay. He can jump right back in. So with that decision, and then the Grable concussion, which I thought, he had started to show signs last week of moving through the progression or the protocol, and I thought he'd be ready to go. Well, he's not. So that was 2 big surprises from an injury standpoint, which changed everything. I had them keeping Kendrick Green because I didn't think Van Pran Granger was going to be active the first 4 weeks. And I had them keeping Grable because I thought he was going to be fine. And it turns out now they've got to go with Vandermark. So that definitely, and they kept Chase Lunt,
right,
which I always thought they would because they used him both inside and outside. So that's a nice guy to have, as a depth role, a guy who can play various positions. So they kept him. It was just surprising to me that Van Pran Granger is on the team. Kendrick Green is not, at least at the start of the year. And Grable for Vandermark was the one that I had flip-flopped to. So hopefully we never even have to worry about this, right? The Bills want their starting 5. Those guys play every snap of every game, and they've done it basically for 2 years in a row. So you just hope that these backups never even become an issue. But if they do, Adam, they've got some serious inexperience on their hands, right? Van Pran Granger hardly played at all last year. Lunt's a rookie. Yeah. Vandermark, in brief time, didn't show a lot. They can't afford an injury up front.
So that kind of brings us, final question, just from an offensive standpoint, and so much success, record setting, that sort of a thing. Josh Allen beyond established as elite. At this point, where do you see on the receiver position, and maybe tight end to some extent with Kincaid, obviously the Coleman situation, his development, his ability to take that next step, all of those things, Brandon Beane getting fired up in defense of how they've handled the receiver position. I'm pretty optimistic about this offense. I don't know that it necessarily, I should mention the James Cook that's all resolved now, but that was kind of hanging over things. Where do you feel like as far as how they're set up on the offensive side at this point as an elite Super Bowl contender. I see no reason why they can't continue to produce at a truly elite level, beyond the fact that, there's book on them now a little bit, Joe Brady, that sort of a thing, and opponents tend to, every team goes through it, every quarterback, coaches wisen to how you have success and try and take that away.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's exactly where I was going. There's no reason for this team not to be great on offense again, except for the fact that they bring everybody back. The only new player really on the team is Josh Palmer as a starter, and then you can throw Elijah Moore, whatever he's going to give them. But that's it. Everything else is exactly the same on offense, and teams do study you. They've seen this offense for really several years. I mean, let's face it, with Josh Allen at quarterback, Adam, you could trace this offense back to Brian Daboll. He put the original offense together. Ken Dorsey pretty much kept it intact, a few little tweaks here and there, and then Joe Brady came in and basically did the same thing. It's still, in many ways, Brian Daboll's offense that Josh Allen became a superstar in. Now you've added just a couple different pieces. Teams are starting to, you would think, teams would start to know how you could at least slow down the Bills. It never happened last year. 525 points would not tell you that anybody figured it out. But that's the one thing you would be concerned about, is that will teams, with all these years of studying how this team plays offense, will it finally catch up to the Bills? And also remember last year, Adam, they only turned it over 8 times. I mean, that's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. You can't imagine that will happen again. It just doesn't work that way. So you throw a few more turnovers into the mix. And at what time do those turnovers come? Those are the kind of things you look at, and maybe the Bills' offense isn't going to be as elite as it has been, especially last year. Then again, they got Josh Allen. Maybe it doesn't matter. Quite frankly, you look at the receiving room right now, Adam, it's better than it was last year. I firmly believe Josh Palmer, to me, is a big upgrade over Amari Cooper. You bring in Elijah Moore, who I've liked a lot. Shakir's a veteran. Keon Coleman, he looked good. He's looked good so far in training camp and preseason. He should take a big step forward. And Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid is healthy. He should be better. This offense could be even better than it was last year.
All right, that's the hope, and they'll find out, at least get some early openers are fluky always. Yeah. Anyway,
and this is a tough opener, Adam. I'm telling you right now, the Ravens are going to be, and everyone in Baltimore is saying the same thing. Oh my God, we have to go to Buffalo and play the opener. This is a tough opener for the Bills. I think they know it. This is a team that's going to come in here after losing that playoff game last year, a game that, let's be honest, the Ravens very easily could have won that game. The Bills caught a few breaks. The Mark Andrews drop at the end was huge. So that's a game the Ravens are probably thinking, you know what, that should have been us playing the Chiefs in the championship game. They're going to come in here loaded for bear. Not to mention Lamar losing the MVP to Josh Allen after he had been named, AP Offensive Player of the Year. So there's a lot of things that play in that opener. It's going to be a tough one for Buffalo. Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, I look, if the Ravens protect the football better in that game, taking nothing away from Buffalo, Andrews had that fumble. Andrews had the fumble in midfield. They were driving for a score. There was a lot of things that went Buffalo's way that night. This is great it's great for the league. It's great for NBC to have this opener on Sunday night. But, man, both of these teams are looking at the league and saying, man, thanks for this. Yeah. Really? Right. You got to get us going with a game like this. This is 2 of the elite teams in the conference. Many would argue 2 of the top 3 teams in the conference. So it's a hell of an opener, man. Yeah, we'll certainly look forward to it. A week from Sunday Night Football, Bills-Ravens to open the season, Channel 2 and NBC. All right, we're going to let you get to work. A busy day there at One Bills Drive. Sal Maiorana, Rochester Democrat and Chronicle. I'm Adam Benigni, WGRZ TV. Thanks for being with us here on Believe in Bills, presented by FanDuel.